Hey lovers, do you remember that video game that came out that was like a love letter to an entire franchise, but then the release of which got completely overshadowed by the PS2 happening? And that was of course until years later the fandom just kind of bubbled up because of the joys of the internet, and then everyone sort of realised it's one of the absolute best games ever made. Just saying, you are on a big fan channel right now, so I'm sorry, we will not take any Final Fantasy IX slander on this channel, so if you are not here for this, please leave. Also, this video is full of spoilers right from the get-go, so no matter what, you can go. I absolutely adore about this game is the messages of the importance of found family, of dealing with loneliness, of dealing with like actual existential crisis, of the reality of death, like such big heavy themes throughout the entire thing. Like it starts off so light and I love the way that it builds upon it, and it kind of means that as things get worse and bleaker, like the bonds get stronger, the character development, like everything gets better as things get worse, if that makes sense. It's really hard to explain, and I love the tackling of mental health issues in different ways. There's just so much to absolutely adore about this game. I didn't like the final boss, but we'll get to that at the end. I'm going to be talking about the core 8 characters, but then I also want to talk about Kuja and Beatrix. Kuja because I think he's a fascinating villain, and Beatrix because I love her, and 10 out of 10 want to cosplay as her, big time. In case you forgot the basic plot of the game, because there's videos that literally spell out the entire plot, all of the icebergs, everything like that, we're on about the characters here. So, in case you did forget, it's your basic, we're gonna kidnap the princess because we got paid a bunch of money for it. Oh wait, holy damn, I think the queen is like really evil. And kinda wants to kill her daughter actually. Wait, not just that, take over the world? Oh, and she's okay with killing her daughter because she's got some special rocks inside her? And then there's this evil dude that's quoting poetry and is corrupting her, whilst also creating life out of mist to create puppets of war? But wait, are they even alive? Oh my gosh, this tree is big. Oh wait, we stopped the mist now, congratulations. Oh wow, 50 Shades of Grey could never with this place. Hey, we want to ride the Rainbow Bridge too! Oh god, existential crisis for the protagonist. And everything's crumbling around us. Oh wait, no, we are gonna save everybody. Let's go kill the bad guy. No wait, the other bad guy. No wait, this bad guy that none of us know about or care about. And then everybody cries. And scene. I'm not crying, you're crying. In case you're wondering about the gameplay, I played the Moguri mod, and also these are all of my achievements. Let's get started with the characters in the order that I want to cover, but the timestamps are down below for you. Amarant, our staunch loner with silly principles of the toughest guy always wins, and of course a strong hatred for Zidane because Zidane was the one to accidentally make him into an outlaw to begin with. And it's another reason why I love Freya, because she mocks him for this. And he's kind of what I think libertarians like to think of themselves as being, like believers that only the strong survive and an independence above all else, with a very weird sense for what is fair. Despite the fact that he was a bounty hunter, he still insisted on things being a fair fight, otherwise it's beating people up, which makes no sense. But you know, whatever. But he has such a man crush on Zidane that's completely undeniable, and does learn from him too. Like, the character growth here is very obvious. Even when he sulks off in Ipsum's castle because he's trying to prove the point that he is right with his way of life and all of that other stuff, he realizes that he needs people when he nearly gets unalived because he fell down, but you know, good old Zidane, going by his different set of moral codes, goes back to save him. He's a bit like Ron Swanson, but without the humour, but everyone can change and he does too. I really do like this little quip at the end where he's quoting Zidane back to him, because obviously he's learnt so much from him, and obviously it's really good to actually see this tough guy change for the better. But in terms of characters, Amarant's not my favourite, sorry. Okay, I hated Eiko as a kid, but I kinda love her now. For a child raised by Mughals, she's surprisingly emotionally intelligent, but still acts very much like a kid. I mean, her crush on Zidane? Understandable, and kids get crushes like this all the time. Pop music would not exist otherwise. I love how Eiko likes to think she's such a boss of everyone, since she's had to assume that role by herself in Maiden Sari. I always call it Maiden Sari for some reason. But since her family passed away, you can see similarities between her and Dagger as well. I mean, feature-wise, yes, absolutely. And yes, I know that she's the better one to have in battle, but I'm a purist, so I always took Dagger with me everywhere because I wanted her and Zidane to spend all the time they could together, because that's just me and I'm a hopeless romantic. Eiko's fragility is the best thing to be shown in my books, because she's been such a staunch kid by herself. The front of control fading and also her growing affection and nurturing of Dagger is really sweet. It's like a natural sisterly bond grown between them, and I think it's done so well, honestly. And I also really appreciate how much she relates to Vivi, and to be his cheerleader as well, because it's a good reflection of how she's talked herself up all of this time too. And oh my goodness, if you don't cry at this part, I don't know what's wrong with you, because when Mog revealed themselves to be her Eidolon, the ribbon bit, just tears. Plus her adopting Sid and Hilda just makes perfect sense. She's just more of a valuable character than I think people give her credit for, okay? Is Quina our first non-binary character? At least in the Final Fantasy series they are. They're definitely the comic relief character though, so if we're looking for great progression, it's pretty lacking. But nobody questions their identity, and they just accept them as they are. It's more Quina's own oddities that's the comic relief, even though they can be weirdly poignant as well. I think that they're actually doing an animated version of Final Fantasy IX, so I wonder how they'll handle this situation. Quina gets treated as stupid throughout the entire game by everybody, including by her father figure Quail. This speaks again to the importance of found family, because Zidane actually treats him with respect right off the bat, and all of the characters actually do. They actually want to learn lessons from Quina as opposed to just disregard them like what had happened previously. With Quail, we can see that they treat them awfully all the time. Quina really just wants to be able to explore to become the best gourmand, and everybody loves the catching frogs game. This time I didn't actually waste my time getting to 99 frogs to fight Q, but I have done in the past, but he's just a really tough boss. I just couldn't be bothered this time. But I do remember back in the day when I played this at like the turn of the century, that they were mocked as a character for being really weird, and other phrases that I will not be repeating because they didn't really identify as a man or a woman. But Steiner got mocked too because of the supposed eyeliner, so have we really moved on? I hope so today, because Quina's blue magic was actually something to be reckoned with, could actually be really fantastic in battle. Freya gets forgotten about by the game, and it saddens me deeply. She became a Burmesian soldier at 16 and then left to find her love, Fratley, who was 25 and left 5 years ago. Freya's 21, so they fell in love before she was 16. Yeah, I'm a bit uncomfortable with that, but what's worse is what happens to her. When we meet Freya, she's pretty famous honestly, but she'd also met Zidane 3 years prior, and honestly I love her cutting observations throughout the game. She's an accomplished knight and wants to go with the team to Burmecia to protect her home after years of not returning because it hurt too much without Fratley. Once you actually arrive at Burmecia, the tone of the game shifts to have this blanket of sadness always in the background, which I know sounds really depressing, but I think it's incredibly important to actually speak to the themes of home and, like I've been mentioning, found family, because they all do support each other. It's really at this point that you actually realise just how much bigger this whole situation truly is, and the realisations that she helps Vivi with, that she goes through herself. It's really hard. She then goes to Clara to help them and save her people because she feels like she let her kingdom down and is riddled with guilt. But then Clara itself gets destroyed, but not before seeing the love of her life finally, after he ghosted her and forgot all about her in this heartbreaking exchange. And her bittersweet attitude just, whoever wrote this did a great job. So, she has no home, no love that she's been searching for 5 years of her life as a 21-year-old, and her involvement as a knight means that she knows how awful war can be, and she also knows this is only going to get worse from here. I love her quick wit, her determination to do the right thing, and how protective and caring she is, in particular of Vivi, and also her ability to relate to Amarant is very interesting, though of course she's the wiser of the two. I don't like the fact that after Disc 1 she basically gets forgotten about other than being a strong woman and emotional guard for others. I'd have loved her story to be told more than the quick wrap-up we get at the end about her and Fratley and how they rekindled things and the journey there, but I guess I'll take what I can. I think that Freya deserves far better than what she got. We're on to the core 4, at least in my books. This is the final team I settle on because they began it all. Steiner's the comic relief for the group, and I'm so glad for it because he cracks me up so many times in what would otherwise be a very sad group. Steiner is a literal knight of loyalty and goes to show just how good indoctrination and training really is, because he is unwavering in his loyalty to the crown for far longer in the game than anybody would expect. Beatrix abandoned her post way before him in terms of understanding the grand issues, but the thing is, he had actually seen the things that Queen Bran was doing and still pledged allegiance to her time and again, even with the evidence right in his face, right up until Princess Garnet was literally hanging for her life because of the Queen's greed. Since his backstory is that he defeated Beatrix way back in the past, which got him the position in the Knights of Pluto, the rivalry between them makes sense, and their enemies to lovers journey is actually really believable. As they actually go to fight for the princess, and the love letter scene, oh my goodness, this is still one of my favourite moments in the game. I also love his deep affection and admiration for Vivi. It initially started in his awe of magic and usefulness right from the start, but even knowing about the black mages who were killing people, he fully trusted Vivi and wanted to hold him up and protect him. Their friendship and how Vivi got through to him makes my heart warm, so I always kept them together in the game. Vivi makes me cry. Oh my god, we must protect him at all costs. He was one of the first prototypes built and lasts longer than the other black mages who came after him. His story goes that he fell out of the cargo ship on the way to Alexandria, and Quina raised Vivi with the hopes of cooking him, but obviously that didn't happen. So he ventures out and finally gets to say I want to be your canary and gets wrapped up in the adventure, and then we go along the ever so painful journey with him as he discovers he was manufactured, how he gets treated like a monster by everyone because his initial purpose was to destroy, foreshadowing about Zidane, and he constantly has to prove his own humanity and deal with the fact he sees others just like him be treated as puppets of war and tossed aside like they're not alive at all. You could very easily make parallels to race relations here, but that would honestly require a whole video in itself. I can't cover it in a couple of minutes. Vivi's melancholy attitude but fire at wanting to save others and find the truth is like all of our journeys in life. His reaction to finding the genomes and then having them live with the black mages after their home was destroyed, oh my god, he really is the most caring soul. Him realizing that death happens to all, and far sooner to black mages who are manufactured that way with forced obsolescence, even though they're sentient, it's like, the whole thing's like a cruel joke. Vivi really is the soul of the game, at least to me. Whilst Zidane portrays a similar struggle, without Vivi, I don't think it would be as good. And the ending, this heartbreaking ending, this is Vivi's goodbye to Zidane, all of this is. Because Zidane only returns after Vivi has passed away. These are Vivi's replicas. There's differing theories here, but personally I go by Dagger's hair growth, and hair grows between 4 to 6 inches per year, so we're looking about 5 years here. Vivi's acceptance that death is a natural part of life, and the messages in the game around intergenerational memories being passed on, how found family can actually be more important than real family, how taking care of others is super important, like, damn, they tackle a lot of really hard topics that even adults aren't willing to face in this game. Garnet, Dagger, Sarah. Yeah, her real name is Sarah, which means princess, in case you never went on that side quest. Dagger is our introspective, naive princess with all the green attitudes that you'd expect by living in a castle forever. Plus, she's only 16. She learned about the world through books, which isn't quite the same as living it, and you can see the joy she holds in experiencing life for the very first time at the start of the game where we go to places like the Ice Cavern and Dali. But it's that same naivete which means people around her try to protect her, which of course makes her angry because she's broken free of one prison to only be told no repeatedly once again. But of course it's her courage, quick wit and smarts that actually help them get to many places, impressing everyone because she's been thought of as less than the whole time. Her dedication to her kingdom and people never falters throughout the whole game, and her loss in the game is significant and challenging in a totally separate way to Vivi. Because whilst he's facing the issues of mortality and fear, she's facing the greed, corruption and lies of the world in real time as a nation depends on her to lead them. And worst of all, her own mother succumbs to this, to the point that she has to run away to try and get Regent Sid to help her, for things to only get worse, and then see her own mother order the death of hundreds, if not thousands, repeatedly. Then she has to realise her mother doesn't care if she lives or dies, and that Queen Bran is not her actual mother. She's in fact a summoner whose own mother died, and then having to ride that same ship which killed so many people, including her own 2 mothers. Like, damn, no wonder she lost her voice. For a sheltered princess, she is tenacious and willing to learn, especially about her memories at Mayday and Sari. She wants to face into things despite how hard it is to see the truth and reckon with reality. She finally feels like she can lead her kingdom, a weight which is not an easy one to bear. It's a detail I really appreciate about the game too, because after she cuts her hair, she smiles in the still shots. It's just little details like that that get me, you know? I honestly think the connection between her and Zidane is cute, even if it's flawed with the 2000s cusp issues of his Casanova wishes. When he stops treating her like a play toy and sees her as a full person when they reconnect down the track, it just grows from there in a way of deep understanding of each other. Their connection is genuine, and watching this back as an adult, you can see it, but as a tween, I honestly thought it was the greatest love story of all. But would he have been so attached to her and willing to help her if she wasn't pretty? I kinda doubt it, but do I cry every time I watch the ending? Yes, every time. Zidane, our blonde protagonist with a sword. To see where his story leads and knowing all we do in retrospect, it's really interesting playing this game again and seeing all the signs along the way, a bit like when you watch Shrek 2 and see all the frog memorabilia around the place. Zidane got dropped onto Gaia at the age of 6, thanks Kuja, and it's the improved version of Kuja, created by Garnet of course. Garnet is like Black Pill. Honestly, I always try to understand villains, but mate, even I couldn't get that with him. Zidane was raised by Baku, who abused him and enjoyed that, which is terrifying, and Zidane has always wanted to find a place called home. His retelling of his life to Dagger at the Black Mage Village is really sad. Zidane had left Tantalus before, so him leaving again at the beginning wasn't very surprising, since his own moral code is something so ingrained into him it's like it was built that way. His attitude towards chasing tail, get it, is so reminiscent of that time I never even thought anything of it, but he's like a Chad with a heart of gold really. With or without Dagger though, we actually know he was already good. Dagger just sort of brought that out in him a little bit more, and of course all of the other characters did too, because he bolstered all of them up. And that is one thing which makes him a great protagonist, is the fact that he doesn't care what walk of life people have gone down or who they are. He cares to help them on their own journey, to help other people feel better, and is always standing up for the right thing. Granted, it did get him in trouble a lot of the time, but his positive attitude that they could take on anything was what helped people get through the hardest things. He was designed to be able to grow up from childhood, therefore be able to trance, making him better than Kuja and more well-rounded. Kuja does manage to trance by using Queen Bran's soul though, which is incredibly dark and twisted, but of course it's Kuja, as we'll be talking about soon. For Zidane, the lessons on Gaia and the journey he went on at the age of 13, yeah, this is actually his backstory, it all shows him that it's helping others, who you're with, and standing up and doing something that matters in life. His existential crisis in Pandemonium after Garland tries to turn him back into a regular genome is a good portrayal of depression in my opinion, and it's almost the most sad thing to see the optimist shed everything that we knew about them to push everyone away, as he has this reckoning within himself. I mean, realizing you're just a puppet for destruction and all the crap that you've taught others is meaningless now, honestly that would get anybody down. But it's also kind of why I love this game, since it does explore these themes actually deeply and allows the gravity of the situation to sink in. And it's this key differentiation between him and Kuja. Despite being able to relate to Kuja, he actually has more humanity than him, which allows him to extend this to Kuja, therefore try and go back to save him and actually have this conversation and reckoning with him, and treat him as an actual whole person as opposed to just this evil being, and have like this more complicated relationship with him, which honestly not many people would be able to do. I don't know if I would be able to. Of course though, the power of friendship, in just less of a Care Bears way and more of an authentic way, is what brings him through it all. Whether we are on about inner turmoil or literal demons like Hades or Necron or whomever, they're able to get through it all together. Kuja, our mysterious man of mystery. Our flawed villain, Kuja in my books is a villain we can at least empathise with, especially firstborns. Not that I am one, but still. He was created and knew his purpose and embraced it, in a poetically sadistic manner with all the glorious codedness of early Disney villains. Would he or would he not fit in with this crowd perfectly? He's educated, fearsome, and reminds me of Scar when he's about to eat a mouse. His relationship with his replacement brother Zidane is very much a playful one, but only Kuja is playing the game here, toying with him to see what makes him so special and to torture him to prove a point. Though he wants to keep Zidane alive, it's not really out of brotherly love or anything, don't be mistaken here. He's always hidden who he was though, unlike Zidane, who feels comfortable as himself. It's a different kind of peacocking I guess, since you can't see his tail normally, but you can definitely see the rest of his outfit. Much like me as a teenager, he must have been in denial about being cold. And that layer though, the desert palace, is beautiful too. I was honestly sad to not be able to spend more time here, and it was really comical seeing Eiko swinging her arms around the lair of the most evil man on Gaia. And do you think that nothing happened with Hilda? Really? I know the trope is that bad guys want to brag about their plans and all, but anyway, he's a true narcissist, throws Zidane to Gaia to prevent it from being replaced, and sneakily hatching a plan to get Bran to use the Eidolons in order to overthrow Garland because he knows he'd turned into a puppet like the Black Mages. And when he finds out he has a timer over his head, that's when he really can't cope. I mean, hell, when he got hurt by Bamut, he smirked. And even though he uses the Black Mages, he is just like them, a similar puppet and lacking in emotional maturity beyond the quotes he found in plays. Kuja is a really interesting antagonist in my books, a much more compelling one than the final boss we get, Necron. I mean, we were meant to get Hades, by the way, which makes more sense to me. The set design was more suited to it, and I actually found Hades to be a really tough boss battle anyway. And finally, Beatrix. If you've made it this far, thank you. I love Beatrix because she is so assured of herself, to the point of arrogance, sure. She's staunchly loyal but also incredibly smart, polite, and has a good recognition of the reality of situations. I know, why would a pacifist like myself like someone who is a merciless killer? Because of her EQ and willingness to change and recognize situations, I guess. As the game goes on, you fight her 3 different times. It shows her loyalty to her kingdom, but also behind the scenes the doubt in her mind. She is incredibly astute and will do whatever it takes to protect those she wants to serve, and she has a huge heart. You could actually argue a bigger one than Steiner. Does it mean she's perfect? No, not at all. I don't like perfect characters anyway, and she does change, and you know how much I support people who change, learn, and grow. And yeah, this is a video game. If she'd done this stuff in real life, you know I wouldn't trust her. 10 out of 10 want to cosplay as her, and her theme is one of my favourite songs from this whole game. I was going to be showing the entire gameplay, however, there's about 7 hours of footage that I've recorded, so it's going to be an absolute nightmare to edit this video. So please do give it a thumbs up and also comment down below, because oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna get through editing this video, because I want to include everything because I love this game so much, and I'm basically gonna relive the whole thing, and I'm probably gonna cry again. Bragging moment, because I beat Ozma, but I beat Ozma when I was AFK. So everybody was KO'd except for Vivi, and Vivi had Berserk, so I was like, oh, fine, whatever, I'll go make a cup of tea, just wait for this to finish out. And he had return magic equipped, so he was just like hitting Ozma, causing like a decent amount of damage surprisingly, and then inflicting whatever Ozma actually cast on him. And then I come back upstairs and I'm like, what the I missed the whole thing because I thought I would fail, and I wish I'd recorded it because I could have shown you, but it totally happened. I adore the storytelling of this. I adore so much of it. Most of all, the music. I can't even pick just one favorite song because the songs in this are so good, and you can look into the making of it, but basically like the amount of work that went into just the music of this. What I did, because I was that big a fan, when you had like a sound system that could connect to the TV, you know, like with all the cords and stuff, I would actually have cassette tapes of me recording the music to tie in with things. Yeah, when I say super fan, that's what you're dealing with here. So welcome, hi. And also my loving husband did just tell me that Final Fantasy VII is just coming out on Steam right now. Had a look at it, and it turns out it's coming out in 3 parts. So do you want me to do a video on Final Fantasy VII, the OG version? Because that's like 20 bucks, because it will cost around about $300 just for the Steam version of the updated one, and I don't know if I can afford that. Actually, I can't. So if you want that, then let me know, because I need something else to get me through my winter blues. Okay, what are my favourite songs? I love Melodies of Life, Village of Dali, oh, Mount Gulag. I actually think Mount Gulag music is really good. Obviously Beatrix's theme is amazing. You Are Not Alone, incredible. Oh, it's really hard to say. Some of them just really are perfectly unsettling, like the atmosphere that gets created in this game. Even though like I know the graphics aren't great, I still love it on such a deep level. It's quite ridiculous. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I'm amazed that I managed to make it this short. I could have gone on for literal days, and I would if I got given the chance to. But again, let me know if you want me to play the original Final Fantasy VII, because like I said, I cannot afford that $300. Brandon also told me about Tales of Arise, saying that I should play that, but apparently like the battles are harder than what I'm used to, because I'm used to like you know, the Final Fantasy 9 setup. So I'm not entirely sure if I could get into that, but do tell me. I would like to get into more games. Oh, I'm probably actually going to take next week off because this has really destroyed me. Even though this video is short, it's really kicked my guts. So yes, you will not see me next week, but then I'll have one of my more deep dives the week after, I promise. Anyway, enjoy some more of the Final Fantasy 9 music, which we all know and love.